So, I'm going to talk about Cucumber, and also I'm going to touch on one of the services that we provide here at Digital Globe. So, first, who am I? My name is Rebecca Rice. I am a cartographer and geospatial analyst here at Digital Globe. I wasn't a developer, but now I've kind of transitioned into more UI UX developer. I have a master's in geographic and cartographic sciences from George Mason, and I graduated last December and started working here shortly after. I have a slight background in Python, SQL, and R thanks to geography, and I'm self-taught in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I just started working with Cucumber about 4 weeks ago, and I'm going to talk about it tonight. So it should be fun. All right, so what is Cucumber? Has anyone worked with Cucumber? Okay, cool. So that's a cucumber. But what is it really? It's a testing framework that supports behavior-driven development and relies on step definitions to create a feature test. Steps can be defined in Ruby and Capybara and are written in Gherkin, which is a language developed for Cucumber, and I'll touch on all of those. And it basically pretends to be a user navigating through the UI to test UI feature functionality, like button clicks and certain events that are happening. And that's why we call it automated testing. So first, I'm going to talk about shortly the tool or the software that we've created here that we use, or that I've been creating Cucumber tests for. It's called Hootenanny, and it's a data conflation tool. So basically that just means if you have two data sets and you want to combine them and turn them into one, that's what it does. It's useful for, we've made this for the government, so they have their own data sets, and then sometimes they may want to conflate it with a crowdsourced data set or a data set from another source, and it's a good comparison tool. So it's open source, so you can find this on GitHub if you want to. It's built on Mapbox's ID editor, so if you're familiar with OpenStreetMap, they have their ID editor tool in there. It's the same interface, and it supports, if you're not a geography person, these will be foreign to you, but shapefiles, OSM, data sources, geodatabases, geonames, web feature services, and OSM API database. And it's more lightweight and user-friendly than desktop GIS tools, which if you're also familiar with GIS, you know that desktop GIS is not always the most friendly to use. So creating a test. So the fun part is creating a feature outline. So for this, I know this is hard to see, so this feature tests checking for layer visibility, and it includes a number of scenarios, and it's written in very simple language, and that's Gherkin. So this one says scenario, open Hootenanny and add data, and then it'll have each step written in simple language. So given I am on Hootenanny and I click get started and I press add reference data set and I click the DC GIS roads Cucumber data set and I press add layer. So as you can see, it's very straightforward and simple. So Gherkin likes simple step-by-step statements using the words given, when, then, and. And the scenario should describe the software's behavior without detailing how the behavior is implemented. So how the behavior is implemented is defined by step definitions. So you have your step definitions. So these look similar to the actual steps, but they're a little more complicated because they're actually telling the test what to do. And it's written in Ruby. So I'll go a with that. And they rely on CSS selectors. So together they create a cucumber test. So for this test, I just put in one scenario. So the scenario is open Hootenanny and add data, and we start giving I'm on Hootenanny, and I click get started, and I press add reference data set and go through all the steps that I said before. And then you wait 15 seconds to see span strong element with text DCGIS roads cucumber, and as you can see, that it relies on the CSS selectors. And this is what it's outlining in action. So it adds the first data set, and then it can see DCGIS roads cucumber, and then you add the second data set, you add layer, and then you wait, and you should be able to see the data set.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you're running it together, do you see that happening?
You can. I don't have it set up on my machine to do that right now, but my coworker can see it running.
Oh, so that's like it'll do that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you definitely can set it up so it shows you.
Thank you.
So I'll just go through a few of the step definitions for this test. So when I press the add reference dataset button, so that's the step definition, and it uses regex to so that you can insert which CSS selector. So when I press this, do this, and the action is click, link, or button. And then the next step would be, and I click the DCGIS roads cucumber dataset, and similarly, when I click this data set, do this, and it'll find the text that you put in for that step, and then click it. And then I press add layers similar to the one before. Then I wait 15 seconds to see span strong element with text DCGIS roads cucumber. So as you can see, we define, and I wait a number of seconds to see whatever element with text, whatever text, and those, it gets inserted in the or in this feature. So you run this in your terminal, and this is what it looks like. So it'll go through each step, and green means good, it means it's passing. And you just watch it until it finishes. And so that one passed. So it's awesome when it passes, but a lot of the times it doesn't. So yeah, sometimes, and it will fail. And when it fails, it'll show up in red, and once the test is done running, it'll spit out a screenshot of what the UI looks like at that failed step. And so that might make Cucumber a little daunting. This is like one of my favorite GIFs. But once you work with it a while, you'll be able to figure out a solution. So why isn't my test passing? Either the CSS is wrong, it can't find the selector that you put in, or you misspelled it or something. Your step isn't actually doing what you think it's doing. So there's like one test that I wrote where I was trying to find a hidden element, but it was still in the DOM, and so it was finding it, but it wasn't actually there. So it was like messing up my test. Step precursors haven't happened. So for Hootenanny, a lot of times we're working with adding data sets, and if it can't find a data set already added, then it's obviously going to fail because it can't find it. So we have a makefile that automatically loads data in, or you might have to tell the test itself to add data, but you have to make sure that things that you need to do in order to make sure that the test is going to work are happening before you run the rest of the test. Or if, in my case, I've modified custom steps that have broken every other test. So if you have a test that you're using in multiple tests, or a step that you're using in multiple tests, then you want to make sure that you fixed it in other places that it's used. So one thing that I've struggled with is, what if my test is testing the same thing over and over? So as a coder, you want to make sure that you're writing efficient code and that you're not repeating yourself. So I was supposed to test this advanced options thing where you have a bunch of like text boxes where you can put in a number, and if you put in special characters or letters or negative number, it's supposed to show that it's an invalid input. And there are like 10 text boxes for the advanced options, and so I had to test each one of them for the same things. So yeah, so I was like copying and pasting the same thing but inputting different text box names, and it just got to be like really repetitive and annoying. So I came across scenario outlines, which uses a template with placeholders and examples table. So this is the example from the Cucumber GitHub wiki page. So the scenario outline would be eating. So given there are however many cucumbers, when I eat that many cucumbers, then I should have this many cucumbers left. So it has a table, and it'll run through each of the examples line by line. So it'll run through the test with the first row, and then run through the test again with the second row. And you can add as many rows as you want. And what's in the less than, greater than brackets are placeholders. So that's what gets replaced by the values in the examples table. And yeah, that's where that's from. So this is the test that I wrote. This is only part of it. But so the scenario outline is check for invalid inputs and reference advanced options. So I should see the option name, and then I click on the option ID, and then I should see element with no value, and placeholder, because each text field had a placeholder. And then I fill the element with ABC, and when I press enter in the element input, then I should see an invalid input warning for that element. So I'm sorry, that's so small. So on the examples table, I have columns for option name, option ID, element, and placeholder, and it'll run through each of those placeholders based on the column and input it with the values in that row. So it'll run the test once for the first row, and then for the second row, and then the third row. So it's like super convenient if you have a test where you're testing the same thing for different features. And that is all I have. Here's some resources. I'll take any questions. I hope to be as smart looking as Kevin the Sea Cucumber. I'm gonna put this is on GitHub, so I'll post this, I can post this on the meetup group, and you can take a look at it on GitHub. So, yeah.
No questions? I'm gonna put a softball.
Where are you gonna post sample code to share?
I mean, I was just gonna put what I have sample code on the slides. Is there any requests for anything else?
I don't know, would anyone like to see some sample
Oh,
tests?
we have, Houdini's on GitHub, so you can just check out the repo.
Oh, okay.
I can direct you to the test files folder in there, and you can look at the tests that we use.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, did you know Ruby before this?
Nope, still don't know it.
So on average, like how long did you learn it? Because you said you only started using it 4 weeks ago.
That's like, as the first, we used like the GitHub issues to assign tickets to people, and I was probably assigned my first Cucumber ticket, my first ever experience with Cucumber 4 weeks ago. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to learn. I'm sorry, I just realized that this is popping up a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to learn. I think Ruby's like kind of easy to understand. I wouldn't be able to write anything in Ruby, but I can like get the gist. If you're familiar with any other language, it's like easy to understand. But yeah, I mean, it was also, we had Cucumber already implemented, so if you're implementing it in whatever UI yourself, it's probably a bigger learning curve, but there is plenty of tutorials. So, yeah.
Okay, just another question, just to clarify. So you use Cucumber to say, for example, I have mysite.com, and I use Cucumber to test the site to make sure it functions correctly?
Yeah, so if you're running any JavaScript where like certain events are supposed to happen when you click a button or click a link or whatever, then yeah, you can use Cucumber for that. If it's just like pretty simple HTML, then you probably wouldn't need it. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what code the site is written in, right? Will that
No.
affect anything? Oh,
No.
cool, thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know you've only been using this for a few weeks, but in your experience, I know Cucumber tests can be pretty slow, especially if they're running the JavaScript. So how do you decide which features to test? Do you just test a half a path, or do you test that thing too?
So our goal for Hootenanny was to get up to 80% code coverage and make sure like 80% of the functionality is being tested. So I think it's based on like how much the user uses a feature. If it's a feature that isn't used very often, you probably don't care as much about implementing a test. Other features would probably be higher priority if they're being used a lot more.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you're committing something into GitHub, do you have any sort of like automated testing environment that's constantly going to be hitting that feature?
Yeah, so we have so our workflow for pushing stuff to GitHub is we have our Hootenanny repo, and then I'll get assigned a ticket to create a feature to test a certain thing. And so I create that test, and then I create my own branch for that specific test, and then I push that to GitHub, just the branch. And then we have 3 automated tests that are built in to GitHub once you once you create a pull request. And I don't know how they work. It's like wizardry. But they just like automatically run, and then hopefully they pass. We have a UI one. I don't know what the other ones are.
Jenkins.
Yeah, Jenkins. Yeah, Jenkins is broken. So.
Jenkins is always broken.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad it's not just us. That's good news. Yes.
Have you ever seen anything where you can pull images from the page by scanning the DOM and then doing pixel statistics on the images?
I've never done that.
Like average color or
Oh, that'd be
something like
interesting.
that. So we have an application where we take a few layers and build one layer and then load it onto the map. It would be nice to know if the tiles that just got pushed on there were transparent or missing, or if they look like they had actual images. Can you do
Is
that?
it? Yeah, I don't know.
So have you ever had access to the DOM as part of a step in the binary, or at least the URL for the images?
If they're in the DOM, then yeah. Probably. Yeah. Any other questions? Does anyone have any other?
Sorry.
Please go.
Did you use any other automations tools for testing before, like Selenium, IDE, or WebDriver?
Are you talking about the gifts?
No, I'm talking about automation testing tools.
Oh.
Is Cucumber the only thing that you need to get the browser to run? Is what
No,
kind of-
I'm trying to understand her experience. If she used before any automation tools for testing, like Selenium.
Yeah,
Selenium.
we have three Selenium.
So yeah, Selenium is part of the web driver, right,
Yeah.
that we're using within Cucumber. But we're also using ESLint, and we're using local testing as well. But Cucumber is kind of the primary one. Okay, good.
Thank you.
She surpassed all of us in 4 weeks, so
No.
she's going to one more week. It's great.
So if I'm understanding this right, Cucumber kicks off Selenium that does the automated, opens the browser, moves the mouse,
Yeah.
clicks the down.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, any other questions? Does anyone have any other questions about Digital Globe? I know Audrey talked a lot about imagery. So, yeah, which can be a lot for, does anyone have any background in OpenStreetMap or geography or, yeah, what do you have your background in?
Oh, I was a GIS minor.
Okay.
I did work with satellite data.
Okay,
before.
cool.
I just had a question.
Yeah.
Are you potentially considering opening up the platform as like an open source API thing?
For Digital Globe
Yeah.
imagery. So I think some is, I mean, we release imagery to OpenStreetMap and that's open. I think some of our imagery, they have like an open data API for it. I'm not 100% positive
You
though.
can definitely do like a free trial, and I don't know.
I think I saw like an ad for like download our API, it's free or something.
Yeah, it's the Maps API.
Is that free?
I think there's a free plan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But if you just Google Digital Globe Maps API, that'll be the first one that pops up.